With only 69% of adult men and 40% of adult women able to read and write in the early 2000s, education in Pakistan was substandard before the Taliban. Underinvestment and lack in schools, child labor, and child marriage were just a few contributors to the poor education. However, once the Taliban took control, the education rate, especially for women, decreased dramatically. Pakistan had the world's second highest number of children out of school, and of those children, 62% were girls. Girls were no longer allowed to attend school in many communities, and if a school was caught educating girls, they would often be attacked or bombed. Realizing that many girls would not have the opportunity to go to school, Malala Yousafzai decided to take a stand.
The Taliban is a terrorist group that has been oppressing Pakistan and the surrounding areas since the early 1990s. They have been notorious for introducing Islamic punishments, banning television and music, and abusing human and cultural rights. In addition, they banned women's education in many communities in 2008. At just 11 years old, Malala decided to speak out against the unjust barrier to girls' education.
Of Swat, they spoke up for their rights. I started writing diary. I spoke on every media channel that I could, and I raised my voice on every platform that I could. And I said, I need to tell the world what is happening in Swat, and I need to tell the world that Swat is suffering from terrorism, and we need to fight against terrorism. But they started the real terrorism in 2007. They have blasted more than 400 schools in Swat. They have slaughtered people, and in the month of January 2009, they used to slaughter even 2-3 people every night, and they have flogged women. We have seen the barbaric situation of the 21st century.
Malala was born in Mingora, Pakistan on July 12, 1997. When she was young, her father ran a girls' school, and she loved learning new things. However, once the Taliban took control in 2008, everything changed. They imposed strict rules and declared that girls could no longer attend school. Malala had to say goodbye to her classmates, not sure if she would ever see them again. She began blogging and speaking out publicly on behalf of girls in their right to learn, which made her a target. In October 2012, on her way home from school, Malala was shot on the left side of her head by a masked gunman. After waking up in a hospital in Birmingham, England, 10 days later, Malala learned about the attack. She was also informed that the entire world knew her story and was praying for her recovery. A year later, Malala gave a speech to the United Nations, expressing her beliefs on the attack. She announced that the terrorists did not alter her beliefs and that nothing changed in her life except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born. Furthermore, she stated that she did not speak out in terms of revenge, but for the education rights of every child. Following this speech, Malala continued to make a difference. She did this by creating the Malala Fund.
Right now, you have something called the Malala Fund, and you're advocating for girls' education in a couple of different places. You want to talk a little bit about where you're active?
As I said, it is my dream to work for girls' education. I also want to do work on the ground, and as well as I want to do advocacy. For that reason, we set up the Malala Fund. And the Malala Fund wants to do advocacy to reach the responsible people and to tell them that they should do their duties, and as well as to tell wealthy people that they should also contribute from their wealth a little bit to education, and as well as raising awareness, telling parents that education is very important for their children, and as well as motivating students and children that education is very important for them. With the help of education, they can make their future bright, and as well as their country's future bright. It will help us to bring peace into our community. Other than that, we also are doing work on the ground. An example of work on the ground is we started our first project in Swat, giving scholarships to those girls who are suffering from domestic child labor. And it was my dream to see them going to school holding books and pens and wearing school uniform. And it is coming true because those girls are going to school with the help of our scholarship. We also started work in Jordan for the Syrian refugees. And I think it's an emergency and we all need to do work for it. And we should not ignore these children. They have already missed their school for 3 years. And if it continues, and if they miss their school and they do not get education, it can affect their life. And it can affect the life of other people as well. So they should be given education, and we should take care of them.
In 2014, Malala, along with her father, established the Malala Fund. This charity works to ensure that all girls receive 12 years of free, safe, quality education. Through this charity, Malala hopes that stories like hers can be heard. Malala plays an active role in many countries, including Afghanistan, India, Brazil, Nigeria, and Pakistan. She fights for education funding, building schools for girls, and training young women to speak out for their rights. Her mission is to accelerate and amplify the impact of local education advocates in countries where girls are most likely to miss out on secondary education. To make this possible, she conducts research, invests in technology, and meets with leaders around the world. In just a few years, the Malala Fund has invested $6 million in working for girls' education, and in 2018, the first girls' school in Shangla, Pakistan, opened with support from the Malala Fund. In recognition of her hard work, Malala received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014 and became the youngest person to receive this prestigious award at just 17 years old. She has also won many other awards as a result of her brave activism.
Before Malala began to speak out, the poor education for girls in Pakistan and other countries wasn't given much acknowledgement. Due to her speeches and bravery, people now pay more attention to the bad conditions in these less fortunate countries. Her story started in Pakistan, but has now traveled all around the world. She is working to break the barrier these places have put on education for girls, and has brought about many differences for them. For example, the Malala Fund has built a school in Lebanon for refugee girls from Syria. Additionally, the Malala Fund helps to expand access to free secondary schools in India through advocacy, mentorship programs, and re-enrollment campaigns. Her campaign still continues today to make even further improvements for girls everywhere. Malala is only 22 years old, and she has done so much to fight the injustices of our cruel world. What can you do?